Be sure to subscribe for more content.
What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the BigBC Finance Channel, and I hope you're having a very lovely day. So in today's video, we're going to be talking all about Dogecoin, what has happened to it recently, and where we think the price is going to go to in the future, with some key price levels and some trades we're looking to make. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. And of course, if you appreciate the daily analysis on this channel and to one of the 86% of people that watch my videos that are not yet subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you like this content. So without further ado, let's talk about Dogecoin, and let's get the annotations back on the chart, and let's just discuss what has happened to it recently first, and then I'll be giving you my price prediction. And so here on Dogecoin at the moment, what we have seen is the prices in its recent past been going in some sort of downtrend. So basically we've been in a downtrend, in my opinion, since this kind of area here. So over at least the past few days. And we know that because the prices have remained largely underneath this blue line here, this 100-hour moving average that is super important here on Dogecoin. And basically it's important because it determines the trend here on Doge, where the prices are likely to head in the future. So if I show you over here, for example, on Doge, as the prices were going up, we can see that the prices remained largely above the blue line here. And furthermore, we saw Doge use this blue line as a support, as a place where the prices bounce off from. So for example, we see the prices touch the blue line in this region here, and we see it again in this region here where prices just go underneath the blue line and come back up, and again here where prices use the blue line as a level of support and then they bounce off in the upwards direction. So this, when the prices follow a bullish trend, they typically use the blue line as a support to bounce from. And as you can see, the characteristics change here, the relationship between the price and the moving average change in this area. So we know we've gone from this bullish trend into a more sideways trend because the price just goes in and out and in and out of this moving average. And then finally, over the past few days, what we can see is the prices have been underneath our moving average. They actually use the moving average now as a resistance. So every time prices come up to this moving average, they just bounce off it into the downwards direction several times, as you can see. So this is kind of indicative as to why we look at this 100-hour moving average. And at the moment, we're below the moving average and we're using it as a resistance, showing us that we're in a bearish trend. So as long as we're in this bearish trend, we can expect prices to go further unless the prices are able to start breaking through this 100-hour moving average in blue. And of course, we're always on the lookout for things that could tell us that we could see a change of trend here on Dogecoin in the near future. So one of the patterns that I've been looking at here on Dogecoin that could tell us where we're going to head in an upwards direction is this structure here, where we have a support that's kind of held the price up like this. So we can draw a line kind of where the prices have touched over the past few days since the end of November here. So basically prices come down to touch this support on several occasions, the first time being on the 29th of November. We see the price come down to touch this purple line once again several times at the start of December there, and most recently on this occasion here. So we've got a support that's been tested at least 3 or 4 times, and what we can do is draw a resistance that looks like this as well. So this is one of the things that I am monitoring. We have a resistance here that at the moment has been touched twice by the price, and we therefore have some sort of structure that looks a little bit like this. And this structure is known as a falling wedge, and it's significant in my opinion because it is a bullish chart pattern. There is only one outcome if this falling wedge is respected, and it should be in the upwards direction. And of course, what makes it even more fascinating is that if it is respected, if we do see this falling wedge and prices do break out to the upside, we could see a large price target. So this price target is the first test of the support and the first test of resistance, the distance between them. We get the measuring tool and we just move it to where we could see a breakout. So if we see a breakout within the next few hours, if the price does something like this, where it comes up to the resistance, this purple line here, and we start to go above it with a lot of momentum. So we want to see large green candles like this one over here, and we want to see an increase in volume. So our volume indicator at the very bottom of the chart there start to show an increase in volume. Then we know we've seen a legitimate breakout, and we could see prices head all the way up to basically 11 cents here on Dogecoin. That is a 12.9% trade. And so if this does happen, we would enter the trade here basically as prices break out, and we'll take profits at this level here. And of course 12.9% is pretty big for a single trade, so this is why I am paying attention to this. I would like to see the price test the support and resistance a few more times, as it adds more credibility to this structure. So So I wouldn't expect a breakout to happen right away. It could very well happen, but if we do see several more tests of the supports and the resistance here in purple before we break out, then that would add a lot of credibility to what we're seeing here. So one of the potential patterns that I am seeing, and if I do end up seeing that, then I will post that on my trading view. So be sure to follow me on there if you want real-time updates from what I am seeing. The link is in the description below. So another short-term chart pattern that I am potentially seeing that I'm keeping my eye on is a trend line that we can draw kind of looking like this, and a trend line looking like this. Shorter term, meaning that it's only started forming from 2-3 days ago here on the charts, but we already see that we've got a reasonable resistance here tested 4 times now. And we've got a reasonable support tested at least 3 times down here. And basically, we do have another sort of chart pattern, but this one is more open to interpretation in the sense that we could break out of it onto the upside, but also to the downside. So this is a triangle that we are seeing. The price target from something like this is very similar to the falling wedge that we saw earlier. And again, if we see this play out, this could be a breakout to the upside of 10.7 cents, or we could see a breakdown to around 8.8 cents here on Dogecoin. And of course, this pattern here tells us that we should see a large breakout, but it doesn't tell us in which direction. So another thing I'm keeping my eye on, of course, again, what we'd want to see for this to be respected is prices do something like this, and then with the breakout comes a large price move like this. So large candles going in either direction, whichever way it chooses to break out. And we want to see an increase in volume as it happens. So I'm looking out for this pattern. Of course, for it to be respected, we need to see that breakout. But what has also happened in the past is that price has completely ignored the pattern and done something like this. So if that does happen, then we're not going to be trading this triangle. But if we do see a large price move breakout through either this resistance up here, the support down here, then I will be opening a trade. And again, I'll be updating my trading view if I do make a trade here on Dogecoin. So that's another short-term pattern that I'm looking at here on Doge. But in terms of a slightly longer-term outlook here on Dogecoin, in terms of what I'm going to be investing in the longer term, I'm not going to be positioning myself into Dogecoin until we've seen a convincing bottom here in cryptocurrencies in general. And when I say convincing bottom, we want to look at the main cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the tune of the whole cryptocurrency market. If Bitcoin makes a major move in an up or downwards direction, then we should see that reflected in altcoins such as Dogecoin as well. Of course, it's not going to be a perfect correlation, but we will see some sort of bias. So for example, if we see Bitcoin head down further into 13,000, 14,000 for example, then it's going to be a lot easier for Dogecoin to head down with it as well. So it makes it important to see what Bitcoin is doing. And at the moment, from my analysis here on Bitcoin, I am generally pretty bearish for its short-term future. What we've seen so far is the prices plunge at the start of November here on Bitcoin because of that FTX fallout. So we've seen prices go down extremely fast, and we've seen this area of consolidation that's been happening now on Bitcoin throughout basically the past month. So the prices on Bitcoin have been trading at around 15,600 to 17,200. So not much has been happening for the past month on Bitcoin. And basically there's 2 sets of patterns that I've seen here on Bitcoin, and both of them point into a bearish direction. So the first one is some sort of bear flag pattern. You may have seen my previous videos where I have construed this as some sort of bear flag, which it still definitely could be. And of course, a bear flag consists this flagpole of a steep price decline that we saw over here, and an area of consolidation where the price has been trading within a channel, which we've also seen. And this represents the flag. And if we do actually see this play out, we would expect the prices to head down to 13,200 on Bitcoin. But in order for this to be validated, we need to see prices head down to at least 16,100. And of course, upon the breakout of the support down here, this yellow line, we want to see an increase in volume and large red candles for this bear flag to be valid. And of course, if we do see that move to 13,200 in Bitcoin, I do think that will form some sort of local bottom. So what I guess I'm trying to say is that when Bitcoin heads down, if Bitcoin heads down from this bear flag to 13,200, I will see 13,000 as a potential bottom for Bitcoin. And I'm talking longer term as well, because I think Bitcoin at some point will start heading up towards its Bitcoin halving event. So if we see a convincing drop down from a bear flag like this to 13,200, where it just stays at 13,200, like it stayed at 3,000 back in 2019, way over here, for example, if I just show you that briefly. So this kind of region where the prices had just really bottomed out, there wasn't much there wasn't many sellers left after the prices got down to this level, then that's when I will be entering Dogecoin. Because of course, if Bitcoin heads down to there, then I do think Dogecoin is going to head down, and the likely target for Dogecoin will be around the 7 cents mark, in my opinion, if Bitcoin heads down to 13,200. Now, the other pattern that I have seen is a little bit more generous to Bitcoin in the sense that the bearish price target isn't so low. So at the moment, we could also be seeing a structure like this, and this is a rising wedge. So the first structure you saw was a bear flag. This one is a rising wedge, and although this is a bearish pattern as well, the price target from this isn't as large as the bear flag that we saw. The price target is the first test of support down here, the first test of resistance up here. We drag that measuring tool to wherever the price of Bitcoin may break out, and as you can see, the price target there becomes around 15,300. So if we see this rising wedge play out, again, we want to see a breakout with an increase in volume and momentum. Price is heading down pretty fast, and the price target from that will be 15,300. Now, the difficult thing is whether if we get to 15,300, we'll also see that bear flag play out, because if you remember, from that bear flag, we needed Bitcoin to hit 16,100 with a lot of momentum and volume, and then break down below that trend line. And of course, if we see this rising wedge play out, that's actually going to plunge the price of Bitcoin below 16,100. So we need to keep a sharp eye out to see if momentum, if volume picks up as 16,100 is broken on Bitcoin. And if it is, we could also be seeing that bear flag that will take Bitcoin down to 13,200. But if things start slowing down at the 16,100 region, we see smaller candles, we see more buyers come in to step in at 16,100, for example, then that could tell us that the bear flag was not a valid pattern, and therefore we could see 15,300 as the bottom of this structure. And if Bitcoin makes that move to 15,300, then its behavior down there will tell me whether we've hit a bottom or not, because this could potentially be the bottom of Bitcoin at 15,000 or so, particularly if it just ranges like that. But we won't really know until we see the behavior of buyers and sellers at the 15,000 region. So at the moment, I'm expecting either this rising wedge or this bearish flag here on Bitcoin. Either way, the prices of Bitcoin are going to head lower, and on Dogecoin, I do think it's going to drag Dogecoin down as well. My best case scenario for Dogecoin is this level here. So if Bitcoin does end up crashing, then I expect Dogecoin to at least hit 8.5 cents. And I'll be watching this level very closely, because if prices head below that, then I think this 7 cents level will be next for Dogecoin. And I do think this will be the ultimate Dogecoin low, unless obviously there's some other news that comes in that affects Dogecoin's fundamentals. So at the moment, the most optimistic price target when Bitcoin heads down to my most optimistic price target for Dogecoin as Bitcoin heads to its bottom will be 8.5 cents on Doge, and my most conservative one will be around 7 cents. But either way, until we see Bitcoin hit its bottom, then I'm not going to be doing Doge for the longer term, because I do think Doge will continue to head downwards. And furthermore, here on Doge, I'm just briefly looking at what the stock market is doing as well, because the stock market does have an influence on what cryptocurrencies do, particularly with the economy that we've seen in 2022. And so at the moment, I do think the stock market has completed its bear market rally, a bear market rally being a pump in the stock market that we've seen in this general downwards direction. So the last one that we had was back in August. So from the low in June to the high of August, we saw a 23% pump in the S&P, and at the moment we've seen this pump from October all the way to the start of December here in the S&P, and right now it looks like we're starting to break down from it. And of course, if the stock market is going to be heading lower, which I do think it is, then it's going to add a bearish bias here on cryptocurrencies such as Dogecoin as well. And of course, just to illustrate that briefly to you guys, you can see that in the same time the S&P went up from around 3,650 all the way to 4,300. We saw Bitcoin go from 18,000 all the way to 25,000, and on Dogecoin we can see some sort of similar pump occur. We saw Dogecoin in the same time frame go from our low here of 5 cents ish all the way to 8.8 cents at its peak. So we do see some sort of correlation between the stock market and Dogecoin, and therefore we're keeping our eye on the stock market. And at the moment I see again a rising wedge pattern and the completion of a bear market rally, and if I am correct, then I would expect to see prices on the stock market head down like this, and of course that's going to add a bearish bias here on Dogecoin as well. So keeping my eyes peeled for all of that. And these are the price targets that I have in mind: 8.5 cents as the most optimistic, and 7 cents as the lowest price target that I can imagine. And of course, if we break below 7 cents, I would expect to see a full retracement of this pre-Twitter pump, and that would bring the prices closer to 6 cents here on Dogecoin. So that is what I'm eyeing at the moment, and that's pretty much all I have to say here on Doge. You've seen the shorter term price patterns that I've seen here on Dogecoin, but in the longer term, I am not going to be investing in Doge until we've seen a convincing bottom here on Bitcoin. And that convincing bottom should be the breakdown from this pattern. So whether it's 15,300 or 13,200, we will have to find out in the future. But I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this, and I'm going to be updating my trading view if I do manage to trade anything. So again, follow me on there if you want stuff in real time. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Do be sure to hit the like button if you found this video helpful, and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. But otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.